Olá, boa noite. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. Where are those wine ninjas? Let's bring them onto the screen now. First, leading the wine tasting charge tonight, Mr. Alan Tasia himself. Neil is here to Lisbon now. Frank and Rachel, let me just do that slightly differently so you can see them. And over to Alvazra, the Gary and Linda show, live from Alvazra. How are you guys?
Fine, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Like a quiz show with everybody waving, isn't it? Like blankety blanket. Superb. Great to see your lovely faces. And looking forward, Neil, to this tasting. So where are you taking us tonight, sir?
Okay, we are heading up north, and the reason we are heading up there to the Douro region is it's as a result of a conversation with my nephew, who via Rita, who is an Altejano man, although now he lives and works in London City with Rita's niece Jessica. I was chatting to him the other week, and he recommended this wine to me, saying that I would definitely not be disappointed, and it's probably one of the best wines that he's tried all year. So I thought, what better platform to try it on than this? And at least this way, if the wine's no good, we can blame David Raphael, who's probably listening from London now, tuned in, hopefully. So we can all blame David if it's no good.
Already named and shamed there. Perfect.
Already. Well, not shamed, just named. So we're heading up to the Douro. And as you know, I'm a big Alan Tasia fan. But more recently, we've tried several wines from the Douro that we've really liked. And there's a lot of similarities between the wines, usually full-bodied, quite high alcohol content. So I'm looking forward to this. So I don't know if you can put that first slide up, Carl, and we'll just go into a little bit about the Douro region itself.
There you go.
So though I'm sure we're all pretty aware of where the Douro is, it's at the north of the country, and it takes its name from the Douro River. The Douro River flows all the way from the east coast, the east border, should I say, from Spain, all the way through the Douro Valley to the west part of the country and into Porto, and then out into the Atlantic Ocean. And the Douro is really best known for producing Vinho de Porto, port wine. However, what I wasn't aware of is that its total production is actually around about 50% each. It's port wine and table wine is pretty evenly split between the two productions, which I thought it was actually going to be a lot more port, but it's not. So we can see that where the region now is, it's right up there on the sort of central and eastern part of the country. Now, if we can pop the second slide on, Carl, if you wouldn't mind, please. You can see now, I wasn't aware, is that the Douro region is actually split into three distinct regions. So on the left, more the west part of the Douro, you've got the Baixo Corgo, and in the center you've got Cima Corgo, and to the east, right up to the Spanish border, you've got the Douro Superior, which I'm sure you're probably more aware of. The Baixo Corgo on the left side, the west side, is the coolest and the wettest part of the Douro region. And then as you come into the middle, it starts to get towards the mountain ranges, and it starts to dry out a bit more, quite considerably, with not as much rain. And then when you get into the east, from the east, then you've got the Douro Superior, and this is the hottest and the driest part of the whole region as it starts to spread into the interior of the country and Europe itself. So it's a lot drier here, a lot hotter and warmer. But it's renowned to have the best vineyards and produces the highest quality of grapes in the whole of the Douro region. And all of the big port houses, Graham's, Taylor's, etc., they've all got their vineyards in this part of the Douro region, producing sort of spectacular wines and grapes of extremely high quality. Okay, thanks for that, Carl. If you can drop those down. The soil in the Douro throughout the Douro really is quite rocky, and it's a schist rock, which is made up almost like slate, It's many fine layers of slate compressed together. And what this does, although it's very dry in the mountainous regions there, it helps retain moisture in the soils. It's quite dry as well. And the older vines, the Vinha Velha, the old vines, which have got the more established root systems that go deep, they get into these cracks in the schist, and then they manage to get their moisture from this part, which helps them establish the water that they so desperately need during the year. So that's about the area and the soil in the Douro, and then we'll move on to the producer. The producer is Casa Ferreirinha, and as I mentioned, they're actually situated on the east part of the Douro, in the Douro Superior sub-region. Casa Ferreirinha was established in the 18th century, and it's an old vineyard, and they are the table wine arm of, you've probably all heard of Ferreirinha Port House. And so the Ferreirinha Port House was started, Vinha Porto, in 1752, and they then decided to branch out into table wine. In 1952, they started Casa Ferreirinha and started producing table wine. Casa Ferreirinha is classed as one of the most prestigious wine houses in the whole of Portugal, and certainly in the Douro region. Its claims to fame is the much sought after Barca Velha wine, which was first produced in 1952. And the Casa Ferreirinha Barca Velha only produce the Barca Velha vintage wine in exceptional years. It's got to be an exceptional year for them to declare a vintage and produce the Barca Velha wine. And since 1952, just to show you, they've actually only released 17 wines, 17 Barca Velha wines since 1952. These wines are extremely sought after. Some of the most, certainly the most famous wines in the Douro region, if not the country. And now some of the past vintages of Barca Velha are changing hands for in excess of €1,000 a bottle. So Vinha Grande, which we have this evening, has got some prestigious stable mates, to say the least. Casa Ferreirinha itself, as a family entity, was brought out by Sograb in 1987. So it's now under the stable of Sograb as Portugal's largest wine producing group. So the wine that we're trying now from Casa Ferreirinha this evening is called Vinha Grande, and it's a red wine. It's a blend of 4 grapes, and it was aged in oak between 12 and 18 months in general is what they do. It's got an alcohol content of 14%, and because of the blend of grapes and the quality, the producers recommend that this wine will comfortably lay down and improve for a number of years. Don't say an amount of years or how many years, but they just say a number of years. And I think that's, as you'll see later, from the grape variety, probably because due to the alcohol and the tannins that's in the wine. So the 4 wines that they use for this blend are, as you expect, the Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, and Tinta Roriz, also known as Tempranillo, and the Tinta Barroco. The Touriga Nacional, as we've mentioned previously, is Portugal's queen of the grapes. It's high in tannins and requires to be matured in oak. And then we've got the Touriga Franca, which is another really important dark skin grape, and this is widely reused in the production of wine in Douro, the wine in the Douro region, and particularly port wine and dry red wines. Even though it's more widely planted than the Touriga Nacional, it's considered generally to not be as good, and the Touriga Nacional is generally considered as the more prestigious of the 2 grapes. Also, the Triga Franca is a lighter grape. It's more aromatic. It's lighter bodied than the Triga Nacional, and it makes a really important contribution in the blending of the wine. But it lacks that intensity and the concentration of its big brother, the Triga Nacional. So you'll very rarely see a Triga Franca wine by itself as a single grape. Unlike the name suggests, Triga Franca is not actually a French grape. Its origins really are unknown, a bit of a mystery. It's thought that it was a mutation from Triga Nacional and crossed with another unknown vine. But because it grows so well, it grows prolifically throughout the region, the Douro. It's a really, really popular addition, and it will be found in pretty much most Douro red wines. And then we move on to the Tinta Roriz. Now, Tinta Roriz, once I mention this, you're all going to know it, and it's also a Tempranillo. So in Spain, we've all heard of the Tempranillo grape in lots of Spanish red wines. Well, this is exactly the same vine. It's produced from the same vine. It's just that in Portugal, we call it Tinta Roriz. In Spain, it's called Tempranillo, and other European countries probably as well. And what the Tempranillo grape does, it brings a structured acidity and still even more additional tannins to this blend. And so with the amount of tannins I mentioned before, this helps in preserving the wine when storing it for long periods with a lot of tannins in it. Lastly, we've got the Tinta Barroca, and this is another one of Portugal's widely planted varieties, and this is found throughout the whole of the Douro region, from east to west. And this is used primarily because it's got a really high sugar level. As we know, the high sugar level then results in a high alcohol content, which again, with the tannins, will help for the preservation of storing this wine over long periods. Also, the Barroca brings, it's renowned to have strong berry fruit aromas, sweet spices, and that leather and tobacco notes that sometimes we mention. And lastly, the year, I know there was 2 years mentioned, 2017 and 2018. I luckily had the choice of both, and I went for the 2017, being a year older. Also, 2017 had a slightly higher rating on the Vinha, so I thought I'd go for that while it was there. Like 2017, like 2015 in the Alentejo, which was the last one I chose, it was a really dry winter and a very warm summer. And in the Douro region, I'm saying this year, in 2017 was very similar. There was only 3 centimeters of rain recorded from the 1st of November 2016 for 11 months, 3 centimeters in 11 months. That's all the rain that they had, and it's half of what is normally recorded in 12 months. Every month they had less than half, pretty much, of the expected rainfall. And the only thing they did have was in July, funnily enough, they had absolute torrential rainfall, a downpour. But because the soil and the slopes and the vineyards were so dry, all it did was rush off of the slopes. It caused quite a lot of damage to the terraces with soil erosion and washed the precious soil, because it's a very rocky soil, rocky slopes, the soil is very important, and it washed the soil out into the Douro. And they reckon that the Douro run golden brown for several days after this downpour that they had. Because of the lack of rain and the dry weather, a lot of the younger vines suffered, and by beginning to mid-August, they were actually dropping it was almost like an autumn winter. They were dropping their leaves due to the lack of rainfall, and they were going into survival mode. Whereas the older vines with the more established and deeper root systems, certainly above 300 meters, that they were getting cooler altitude, and they were getting more rain, and they did extremely well. So again, like 2015 in the Alentejo, 2017 in the Douro, produced a lower yield, but what was declared as a very good quality of grape. So it was a good result.
Do they manually water, Neil, in that time? They must do, right?
Manually water, did you say?
Yeah, yeah.
I would imagine that the very big wine houses would have irrigation of some sort. They're huge, but I don't know, to be honest with you. I know in the Alentejo, because of the extreme heat here, a lot of the large producers do have irrigation. Some of the smaller producers don't, but a lot of the big producers have irrigation. In the Douro, I don't know exactly. I would imagine some would where they can, but I don't know is the answer to that, Carl, unfortunately. I can find out. I can find out.
Mm.
So that's pretty much all I've got on it. Did everyone manage to? Did anyone manage to get the wine or not? Yes. Well done. Well done.
That was after first seeing this bad boy. When I got to the supermarket tonight,
The 39-euro.
Yeah, I thought, come on, Neil. It's like the 2016. I look at the price tag. I think, $39.99.
Well, that's exactly the same. It's the Casa Ferreirinha. It's the same house,
Yes.
but a different wine. So and did you guys, some of you just open it, or some of you open it and let it breathe?
About 1 hour ago.
Okay, cool. Happy days.
Same here.
And did you take a sip of it from then? What did you think when you opened it? As soon as you opened it,
you did.
I did.
All right.
It's coming out now. You had a sneaky snifter.
I thought that it was very light on the nose, and it was very alcoholic. Let's see now.
Yeah, I thought, similar. I could taste the alcohol. I thought it was quite light on the nose, like you said. It wasn't as intense as I thought it was going to be. But you know what was amazing was that spiciness came through. It was almost like a sweet, like it mentions about this sweet spiciness. It wasn't peppery like a Shiraz grape, which is really peppery spicy. It was sweet, almost like sweet Caribbean spices that came through, without a doubt. And yourself, Gary?
Yeah, I've noticed it because I smelled the cork as well, and that was really intense on there. It was like a really dark fruit, almost a raisiny sort of smell to it, really deep, and with spicy sort of fruit. So yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
we got the 2018 one, and the cork had already started to
like caramelize, it?
Yeah, on the side.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So, and the color, I mean, the color is, I think, is just absolutely amazing. You can't, it's almost black.
Yeah, very
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saying it tastes light, but to look at it, the color is amazing, I think.
Can't see through it, can I?
Can we say hello before we get Paul Raul from Phoenix, Arizona? A lot to us from Raul. Evening from Paul Williams, all you lovely people. Wine's been breathing gently for an hour here. Sat in the gym jams and comfy. Glad to hear it, Paul. Love to you and Lita there in the south. Hola, boa noite a todos. A boxed red wine blend for Eric tonight. One day hoping to find one of the wine club's featured wines here in North Carolina. We're doing our best to get a bit ahead of ourselves with our selection, so you can do that, Eric. Did anyone try the Barsavelia yet? Asked Anna. We might come back to that. We probably will come back to that. Safara's here, Porto in the house tonight. Safara, great to have you here, giving us an introduction to Portuguese politics in the Man Cave tomorrow night. That should be fun. And it's the 2018 that Paul Williams is sampling down there in the south. Back to you, Neil.
Okay, so color. I mean, I think the color it's almost like, I say it's almost black, and the very top of it where it's see-through is this ruby red. It's almost like blackcurrant.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't smell very heavy alcohol.
Doesn't have much sound though. Now it's interesting. If you smell the cork, that was quite intense, wasn't it? No, that's dry here.
So this smell has improved after breathing. It's much stronger now.
The alcohol I don't find as immediate as when I first opened it. Certainly, I mean, I've had it decanted as well, so maybe that made a difference. The alcohol, that intense alcohol smell initially, I think, has probably evaporated a little bit. I'm gonna go. I can't wait any longer.
Going in, we're going in. I can't wait any longer either.
I think it's got a dryness. Definitely got a dryness to it.
Oh yeah.
Down the sides.
It's one of the more drier ones that we've had.
Yeah, definitely got a dryness on the side. However, I'm definitely getting black fruits without a doubt. But I would say more the spicy fruit, like maybe a black currant or a raspberry. Not necessarily the sweets of black fruits.
I'm getting a bit of a spice thing, like almost like black pepper or the Jamaican pepper.
Yeah, like it said, sweet spices. I'm not getting the pepper personally, which is the typical from the Shiraz and the Syrah. It's like a hot spiciness. I'm finding this is more like a sweeter, aromatic spiciness. If that makes sense.
I've got a couple of it's almost it is a little bit chocolatey. This for me, it's got a little like cocoa-y sort of twang to it, and also a balsamic vinegar sort of, you know, a really good, that balsamic vinegar, really good one, sort of sharpness to it.
Neil, do you know if this one stays in oak?
Yes, it's between 12 and 18 months in oak. So I thought I mentioned that. Sorry.
Yeah, I was getting some woodiness and chocolate, like you say, Gary, there. And I've peeled a cheese for this one. Going well with the cheese.
The one thing though, Neil, is it's not a very simple wine. It's got like quite a few layers. It's got quite a bit going.
Complex. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's definitely got complexity in there. And I think this is going to change even throughout the next hour if it lasts that. And I would like to put a couple of bottles of this down. I think. I think it's not as strong a nose as I was thinking it was going to be. I do suffer.
If you were to take Garvo's lingo, this is Sophia Loren with 3 layers on. It'll take a while for this to undress itself.
I like it. I like it very much.
I do too.
Now this wine is not dangerous enough to be Sophia Loren. This is, I'm trying to think. This is quite how can I say? Like you say, it's a very deep layered wine, and got an element of sophistication about it. Really, it's got a good balance.
Paul's saying more fruity than spice. That was on the original smell when we took the cork out.
So you're saying it's more fruity now than spicy.
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah.
So when first,
with a little bit of time.
Has improved.
without a doubt.
Hola, Bonoit. Saud from North Carolina, from Lauren and Andrew as well tonight. Hello, you folks. Having a bit of cheese with this really brings out a more fruitiness in the wine, interestingly, for me.
What kind of cheese are you having, Carl?
I have got, not Dairy Lee, as some might imagine, that from the last time I had cheese with wine here. It's from Panella. It is this.
Very
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's my favourite cheese, that is, Carl.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's on a deal. It's on a deal at the supermarket at the moment. And it's a mix, isn't it? It's a mix of sheep and dairy. This particular Serras de Panella. Queijo de mistura. Really nice with this.
So you're right that they are regionist with their cheese as well.
In Continent.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, we were in Continent, yesterday or day before yesterday, and we didn't see this cheese. Like, I've never seen this cheese. So if this cheese is from Panella, they do a lot of regional stuff over here with the wine and the cheeses. That's amazing.
This is something I don't know if everyone else gets this, but there is a real loyalty to region, isn't there, in Portugal? Understandably so. And I've just got the feeling that's reflected in the supermarkets as well, you know. And my selection next week at Dow, with all that loyalty, I'm feeling a bit kind of, you know, disloyal going out of Bairrada, even where I live, to go to the Dow region. So I'm hoping I'm not going to get like kicked out of the region or something like that, or a visit from the mayor or whatever. But you've done the same tonight, Neil, haven't you? You've gone out of off your native territory. And brilliantly so.
Say hello to the new member of our family.
Oh, hold on a minute. Let's just put your big on the screen there. Who is that?
This is Nini Kini.
Nini Kini? Who lives in Neil's Mankini? I don't know. Maybe
it's because she's all black. If you look, she's actually got two little spots at the top, and then she's got like a bikini bottom white at the bottom inside her. You can't see it till she turns over. So it looks like she's actually wearing a little white bikini.
Oh, how sweet. Well, welcome to the wine club, little Nini Kini. We're getting greetings from Geneva tonight. Two people in Switzerland. Anna, of course, who was. Have you tried the Barsavellier, Neil? You're most likely. No. Okay.
No, not yet. But we may try it at Christmas. David and Jessica are coming back. David is from the village next door, and Jessica is going to be with us for Christmas. So David and I have said that we may get a bottle.
Wow.
Of something nice this Christmas. So you never know.
Yes, let us know how that goes. Hello from Geneva from Paulo. Good evening to you, Paulo. Great to have your company. Olha, meus amigos, tudo é bom em Portugal. A clima You're gonna have to help me here, folks. Like, look, my friend, everything in Portugal is, and then I can't quite get the grasp of that. What does that mean, Rachel?
Well, hello, my friend. Everything is good in Portugal, from the climate to the people. That's what.
Yes. We'll go with that. Thank you, Facebook user, whoever you are. And excellent. We'll take that as well. Thank you. Paulo Simões says, my favorite Portuguese wines, Chamin and Cabeça de Burro, both red. I'll make a little note of those, Paulo, and do make sure you do.
Donkey's head. What's going on here?
Yeah, I've actually, Rita, we've drunk the Cabeça de Burro before. It's a nice red wine.
I've had that too.
From the north as well. I don't know if it's from possibly Setúbal, or I'm not sure. But we had it in Porto when we were in Porto once. Yes, I think it is from the north.
Hey, look at this. We are the subject of someone's homework. Sally from English Lisboa says, my student Marco wrote about last week's wine club for his homework. He's from the Douro. I hope he's tuning into this week's show about his region. I do too. That's fantastic. And what sort of grade did he get for the homework, Sally? Let us know. But it's so good to be in the Douro. I mean, it is probably the best known region, isn't it, of Portugal? I mean, around the world. Oh dear. Wrong time to ask that question. Best known doesn't mean best, does it? But you know,
no, I think it's. But I have found generally, if I ask people who like red wine or maybe predominantly red, where's their favorite region, and I would say 9 times out of 10 it comes out is either Alentejo or Douro. Yeah. It's beautiful, isn't that stunning? Absolutely.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring that on the screen again. It's no wonder it's known so well all over the world, because that is just breathtaking, that scenery, isn't it?
Heavily populated, isn't it?
And I want to do that drive, you know, the legendary drive along the Douro Valley. You know, that's going to be on the big list, isn't it? For things.
We keep saying we want to do the boat trip. They do the boat from Porto up the Douro, and that is meant to be spectacular. You can spend a week doing it if you wish.
Yeah.
That's meant to be absolutely spectacular. So I might do that for
I was also interested in the train, the historic train route along the Douro.
Yeah.
I think they only have it during summer months, but so maybe next year.
Because did they have a track? What do they have? They used to have along the Douro was a track. I can't think if it was. I don't know if it was a train, maybe not, but where they used to actually tow the boats. Boats didn't have the engines back in the day; they were towed. So a bit like the tow path on the barges in the canals, a similar sort of thing. They were actually towed back in the very, very early days.
Yeah.
And the helicopter, of course. There was a helicopter ride for if you really want to splash out.
Is that the helicopter ride from Porto?
I believe so. Yeah, I think so. Like, out along and back again. 500 euros, I think, for the trip. I think was a figure that stuck in my mind.
She wants to do the hot air balloon ride around along the Douro. I think there's some nonsense like that going on over there too.
No, I think it's
nonsense.
There's a company. There's a hot air balloon in the summer across in the Alentejo. That would be spectacular. That would be amazing.
Frank is such a hopeless romantic, really, isn't he?
You have no idea.
Are you getting wood, Carl?
Yeah, I always. Yeah. No, I definitely was getting chocolate and woodiness early on, but with the side of cheese. Sorry, Rachel.
Is this Marco the student? The English student?
Oh, Marco Pinto.
Fantastic. Yes, I think it may well be. Good evening to you, Marco Pinto. And if I can make a suggestion, you can't ask us a question like that. Of course you can. Go on. We're with bated breath now on tenterhooks. There's an English phrase for you on tenterhooks if you're learning English. Something to put in the exam, maybe on tenterhooks. But yes, go ahead, Marco. Please do. Neil, do you know if there is a scale that rates the tannin content of red wine? Neil's the man to ask about that, obviously.
Yes.
No, I don't know. Sorry. I'll find out and I'll get back to you, Paul. I don't know how you would rate, because realistically, you would have to test the wine, wouldn't you? Really, like you test the pH or the acidity in a liquid, you would have to physically test it to find out. So I don't know. I know you can get strips to test pH, acidity, and this, that, and the other in liquids, but whether there's something that will actually measure the level of tannins, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's down to the skins on the grape itself. So certain grapes are known to have much higher tannins. They have a thicker skin, and they have you see that white powder coating on the grape. This produces the tannins, and some grapes naturally have higher tannins than others. Obviously, the white you don't get the tannins in the white wine because they don't use the skins when they make the wine. But is there a way of measuring the level of tannins? I don't know. I'll find out though.
The interesting thing is that on the Vivino website, they have a scale. The opposite of tannic is smooth. And usually they show on that scale. So I assume that there is a way of measuring it.
But would that just be someone's opinion? Would that be an opinion of one of the wine tasters? In general, we people who enjoy wine, who taste wine, we would pretty much all agree to a degree that this is a sweet wine, this is a dry wine, this is an acidic wine. So if we're going from smooth from smooth or to high tannins, then I suppose it would be an opinion, wouldn't it? Maybe, but it may well be that there is something you can do to test the level of tannins in a wine. I don't know.
It's a bit of giggling going on in Alvazra tonight.
I'm sorry. I was just saying to Linda, I said, you can feel the tannins down by the side of your teeth and the gums. And she said, she just replied to me, she said, I can't help it, I'm getting old.
It was your turn last week to get the fits of giggles, Gary, wasn't it? And Linda tonight, I think. We've got some lovely photos to share, thanks to Lisa. But first of all, Luis da Silva's with us tonight. I think probably from Portugal. What do you reckon?
Very much so.
Lisa, I posted some photos on the Wine Club page. I'll show those in just a moment. They're fantastic, Lisa. I am new to Portugal wine, trying as much as possible before my husband and I to move to Porto next summer. Had a trincadeira the other night and enjoyed it a lot. Ordered 2015 Quinta da Covão Dao. We're on a Dao next week. If you can get it, I'll show you that before the end of the show tonight, Raoul. Fantastic. Let's have a look at Lisa's photo, shall we? Let me see on Facebook tonight. Look at that beautiful picture taken by Lisa. You seeing that?
Oh, nice.
And then on a river trip or snorkeling.
Douro.
Yeah,
That's the Douro, isn't it?
Actually in the Douro, yeah. And there, look. And I have from the same adega.
That's one of the lighter wines produced by them.
Yeah, but they're the Four Graces or whatever it is on the label. It's a distinctive looking label. Very nice. Thank you so much, Lisa, for those. Really thoughtful. Thank you. Louis says, is it okay if I drink a bottle of Sagres? Absolutely it is. Absolutely. For sure. Raising a glass to, and of course, let's raise a glass to Penny, who can't be with us tonight. Sadly, family bereavement there.
Commiserations to the family.
Yeah, with this, Penny. Lots of love to you and Henry and everybody there.
We love you and we miss you, Penny, and Henry and Nina both.
For sure. And that is changing, Neil. That's why it's nice, isn't it, that we are having this sort of extended session.
Definitely changing.
Yeah, we try it in the first 20, don't we? And then in 20-minute segments, it changes. It's nature.
By the time I finish waffling on, it's given it another half an hour. So.
This is turning out into a very good, this is turning out, at this point, it's turning out into an amazing wine now.
Yeah, it's a class act, this one is. I like this one.
Yeah, I like this one.
So that's unfair. Last week, we gave scores to my wine much earlier, and now we are going to give scores to Neil's wine after it's had some time.
Yeah, but
it's the name of the game. You're in control. You can tell us to open it on Wednesday tea time if you wanted to.
Yeah, but Neil, you've we'll see the scores, but you've picked a more complicated wine.
It is. I like it. I think it's a complex wine. I like unpeeling the layers off it. There's a lot in there, to be honest. I know I struggle with smells. I suffer really, really badly with my sinuses, and I hate not being able to get the nose of a wine very often. So I have to sort of rely on the taste quite a lot. And there's a lot in this wine, without a doubt. I'm tasting more fruits than I'm smelling. And the tannings, and that it's definitely a dryness, which is, as we went through the grapes, it said the second grape was it gives a dryness, which is made in for dry red wines. It's the Touriga Franca, which is it's got, without a doubt, and it's got that sweet spiciness as well, which is what it's suggested in the wine. So I love the fact that the four grapes that have been chosen are all contributing to this wine, and I can pretty much pick out everything from each of the grapes, and I love that. And I think it's going to get better. I think it's going to smooth out, and I think in a few years' time it's not going to be quite as dry. I think the tannins, the oak will have worked on the tannins, even though it's in the bottle now. And I think it will smoothen out, and I think the tannins will become a lot smoother.
The interesting part is that we cannot taste the oak very heavily.
You can't always taste the oak. what the oak tends to give is a vanilla, a sweet vanilla, if that makes sense. So you can't always actually taste wood as such, but what tends to happen is especially on young oak barrels, you'll get quite an intense vanilla from the wood, and then as the oak gets older, it starts to disappear. But what we actually found out, and we got straight from the horse's mouth, because my question to these people were, you're using barrels that are 20, 30, 50, 100 years old. How can they still contribute to the wine in flavor? How can they still contribute in drawing the tannins out of the wine so they're not as harsh anymore? And you remember he said to me, I'm not telling you this, however, they add something to the wine. So I think the oak barrels are there purely as a means to store the wine. It would cost a fortune to replace the oak barrels every year. But when you read on some labels on wine, it actually says fermented or matured in new oak barrels, and that is where you will definitely, or should definitely, get a real strong flavor and a smell of vanilla, which is I really like. I love that, I have to say. But I agree with what you're saying. I can't say that there's a strong vanilla essence coming from the wine.
No, it is quite creamy now. It's got a nice cream finish to it.
Yeah. I find a lot.
Are we on glass number 2, Linda?
Glass number 3.
Glass number 3 already. Well done.
Right, that says a lot in its own right, doesn't it? Should we move on to scoring in that case? Actually, before we do, Louise, it's nice to know you can get a Sagresh in Waterloo in London. Lots of love to my hometown there, Louise. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Appreciate it. Raul says, for viewers in USA, WTSO carries a nice selection of Portuguese wines. Free shipping. Good to know. And this from Marco, excuse me, who wanted to make a suggestion to us, and we're glad you have. Look at this. If you visit Douro, please go to 2 places, the Miradouro São Leonardo do Galafura, where you'll find a poem about the Douro from poet Miguel Torga. Must do that. It's going on the list. And the other place is São Salvador do Mundo. On the list as well, Marco. Thank you so much. Love it to hear from actual Portuguese people. Decided to buy a couple of comparison Douro wines in Continent today. One a Reserva and one of Value Symington's wine. You're taking your research seriously, I think, Paul.
That Symington should be good. Symington's are obviously huge in the port wine production, and they own the Graham's Port House now, and they make some amazing quality wines. So anything that you get from Symington should be good.
It does make me wonder what that £39 bottle might be like, if this is what this one's like. So yeah, maybe might be tempted one day.
How are we going to find out? Should we go?
I'll tell you this: this nephew of yours is a keeper.
Yeah, send him our best.
Yeah, don't get rid of this pump.
Oh, that may well be the Miradouro. My first photo was taken out. Our guide said the best view of the Douro, and I remember a poem. So there you go. Lisa knows what you're talking about.
Well done, Lisa. Thank you.
And your teacher, Sally, is saying, great, Marco. Top marks for you tonight, mister. Fantastic. So let's do some marking, shall we? You're included in this, Paul, and anyone else who is, I don't know if Malcolm's with us tonight, but
I wonder if there's a difference from the. I'm sort of intrigued as to whether there's a difference from the 17 and the 18.
All right, preface to marking your comment with that. So Neil, do you want to start? And which one are you on?
I'm on the 17. I think I'm the only one on the 17. Am I?
Yeah, I'm on 18.
Yeah, so the 17 is a 7 probably out of 5.
7.
Brilliant.
Well, nice.
I
Taking the piss, this guy is.
Where is
I like this wine. It's
Let's take it away.
got me written all over it. It's drier than my absolutely ideal wine, but I can put up with it, and I think that dryness is gonna mellow over time, personally. So I'm thinking ahead as to what it's gonna be like, if that's fair. But normally I mark it for what it is now, don't I? I'm gonna give it a 4.25 as it is now, and I think it's gonna get even better, personally. I think it's got everything in it. It's all there.
Neil, I was going to like kind of warn you a bit, because you know you're Tejo, Alan Tejo.
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit careful before you mark any other wine, because up till now I kind of have this in my memory. I know that you have never marked an Alan Tejo wine over 4.
I am quite stringent, you know. I'm quite tough, but this has got everything in it. But I have tasted. I've had other Alentejo wines that we've not tasted here, which I would mark well over 4. That grows it to me. I would give that 4.5, maybe even a 5 all day long for that particular year. It is just the absolute perfect wine for me. We had 2 here, which to me were just amazing. That they were not everyone's cup of tea, but for me, they were full-bodied, they were smooth, they were fruity, they were ready to drink. They were amazing.
Well, the first one we had that day for like right before dinner, I would easily give that one a 4.25.
Is that all? Was that all? That was a 2012. If I think it was 2 gold medals and a silver medal winner.
That was a spectacular one.
I thought it was I loved it, I have to say.
To me, it was a 5.
All right, Liz.
To me, it was a 5 as well, right?
Então. Agora, Lisboa.
Okay.
What are your scores?
So I am going to say 4. It's very good, and if I compare with last week's wine, it has one of the grapes is the same. But last week the wine was much heavier on the nose, which is something I really liked.
Yes.
And so I said, I think 4.25 last week, so for this one.
Frank.
I don't know. I really
am a song contest. You don't start marking your own country higher.
I am now, as I'm drinking this and it's been sitting out, the score is going up and up for me.
Yeah,
I think this
we'll come back to you, Frank. Move along. We'll come back to you.
This is all right. As of right now, this is a 4.25 for me. Easy.
Look, similar scores from the south of the country tonight. 4.25 from Paul, and Lita is a 4 on this one.
Thank you,
Lita,
Paul.
a little bit restrained, Lita, tonight. Why is that? Why a little bit under the other marks, Lita? Tell us more. Alva Azra, good evening.
I think I'm going to give it a 4.1. It's a nice wine. I like it, but it was quite spicy to start with, and I think it's perhaps a little bit dry for my taste.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
You know, as a wine, it is very smooth and has quite a nice finish. But I think I prefer something that was perhaps a little bit less dry.
I agree with you, Linda. Yeah, and for me as well, it's a little bit drier than I would have, which would be perfect for me. So it is a bit drier, definitely.
I think I've got this. I have a theory.
Gazza's thinking here.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm developing a theory. Okay. That, like with a lot of wines that I taste, they're very definite, sort of strong tasting wines, and you know, they're very immediate. but they don't have much complexity or length on the taste. But this one, right, you have to go searching for the taste, and the more you search, the more you discover. So that, in my mind, is probably saying it's probably a better quality wine. It's making me work, and it's making me search out the flavors. It's not going to beat me over the head with taste. It's subtle, which I like. So I'm going to give this a 4.5.
Wow.
Ooh.
Nice.
It's definitely got layers, isn't it, Gary?
Definitely.
Got layers in there. I agree.
Interesting. And this is part of our education, isn't it? Because I see what happened there, Gary. You are like me, I think, changing how you see wine, this whole process for us. Wine 21, this is for us. Can you believe it? And what a journey it's been. It's so fantastic, just the journey around Portugal, but my own personal better understanding of wine. I'm going to go for a 4.3 myself, because I'm loving it tonight, and I'm really glad I got some cheese and I've got some roasted chicken. It's not the ideal thing to go with a bit of chicken, but to augment it with some solids is good. And it's a really pleasurable experience, and lovely to go to the Douro. And I've really loved your presentation as well, Neil. Your thorough presentation of the wine was really good.
Thank you. And talking about tasting notes, I mean, that would be interesting as well. Frank being a chef and specializing in this field, I mean, it came out. The tasting notes of this wine was so varied. Obviously, it had in there the big game, so it had any type of game. It had beef, but it also had pasta, and it had foie gras, which I can understand all day long. I'm against foie gras, but when it's put in front of me, I start to salivate and just can't help but eat it. And so I could really see that foie gras with that dryness and spiciness would be absolutely stunning with some game meats, boar, chablis sort of thing. I could see that going amazingly well, but it really came out quite strong with pasta, which I don't know. Maybe that's because of the dryness, the spiciness. I don't know. I would drink it with anything, to be honest. But I don't know about pasta. What do you think, Frank? What's your views on that?
This is all the way. Like, as I've been drinking this, I've been thinking like heavy red like this. This is just, you keep it very simple, like a very nice medium rare steak, bistecca fiorentina, something like this, man.
What about black pig, porco preto, something like that, or?
Well, porco preto. But the thing is that for me it would be beef. I would really do this with like some heavy beef, but not like beef that is just like seared outside. Like I'm a fan of medium rare, but this one I would do something even a bit rarer. This one is beautiful, man. It's actually now my scale has gone to 4.3. I love this wine.
And
the only thing that probably stopped me giving it a higher score was, as Linda really, really rightly pointed out, is the dryness to it. And it's not. I don't think it's the tannins. I think it's from the grape. I think it was the Franca that gives it a dryness, and that is probably the only thing. It's not. I don't dislike it, but for it to be perfect for me, it has to be slightly smoother, slightly sweeter. And I'm not saying sweet as such. Sorry, I'm not saying sweet wine, but maybe not quite as dry as this is. And maybe it's the tannins as well that are giving that dryness, which will in time will actually smoothen out.
Neil, what I'm really impressed with this one about is, like, I remember when we had this. Did you remember when we had the Setúbal one, the Setúbal wine? And that one, at this point, that one was very chalky. It was not.
Santa Cristo, was it? Santa Cristo?
It was something that was, at this point, it became very chalky. And I was like, all right, this one has developed another layer. So I really admire wines like this, where like you have kept it open for a while, and after an hour and a half, close to 2 hours, there's another definition coming to the wine. So I really like it. I think that this is a very, very good class wine. I'm really, really impressed.
I'm still getting alcohol. I'm still getting the alcohol from it. So it's clearly got the alcohol content. It's clearly got the tannins.
Yeah.
As it says on the bottle on the back, I had to use a magnifying glass because it was so tiny, that they actually recommend laying this wine down for a number of years. So I think that basically is the cake is still cooking, and I think this laid down is just going to continue to improve without a doubt.
And that's the reflection of us as wine tasters here, isn't it? Or some of us anyway. Is this discovering complexity? Because I think what you were saying, Gary, is like, you know, some of the reds. Well, it's either that some of the reds we've had before are like all fur coat and no knickers, as it were, or our appreciation hadn't developed enough, or both. But now I was getting a bit cheesed off with bold Bayrada, you know, all front kind of red, and I'm really enjoying this going out of the area. I'm uncomfortable as well saying that, obviously, living in Bayrada, but this little journey out of to the Douro and the Dow next week, I think is, I don't know if this is true, you know, and that is the comparison that's made with the Bayrada. Bayrada is very full-bodied.
Bayrada boy.
Bayrada boy, yes. I mean, in my local railway station, which some of you have been to, where that wonderful
You often
Bayrada.
hang out at the local railway station, do you?
Say again?
You often hang out at the local railway station.
Yes,
I have
me
heard it's
too.
to find certain Bayrada boys.
Well, there is some graffiti up at the station which says Bayrada Crew, like was here or something in Portuguese. And I'm thinking I'm going to get a visit from them if I keep talking about how great Douro and Dow wines are. But we are getting into this, you know, extra layers of complexity, I think, and appreciation. And you know, you're the long view man as well with this, Neil. You know, you've described your collection, and are you going to have a secret panel where you just have the first bit of your cellar, it's all Alentejo stuff, and then you pull a book out of the library and it goes through to other regions so you don't embarrass yourself in front of
we're back on site tomorrow, and we've just actually built the area where the wine is going to go, funnily enough. It's quite
I
exciting.
think it needs a secret compartment. You've got to have your Alentejo bit, and then for people who won't be offended, other regions as well. But at least by your descriptions, it sounds like maybe you need to lay down a bottle or two for a few years to mellow out a bit, let it get over its teenage. Very good description, Lisa. Thank you for that, and for your photos tonight. Lita prefers her white wines, and tannin is not her favourite taste, so she likes soft reds, hence the 4. I like Dow wine, so looking forward to next week. Yeah, I'm not entirely. I've done a little bit of research, and I think it's going to be an interesting experience. But again, it's going to be a different experience going to the Dow, and I'm really looking forward to your comments about the one that I've chosen. Agree with the thanks to Neil for the research. Yeah, absolutely. From Paul there.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, you see what Neil just said. These are the lay down crew who want to take this long-term view, and I'm getting into that as well. You know, I'd never think about buying a wine to lay it down. You know, it's never going to be in the house for more than a week, let alone a day or two. You've educated me, Neil.
You know how much you enjoy opening this wine, and you have a meal, Carl, and you enjoy opening this wine. I tell you what, it just takes it to another level where you're going to have a meal, or you've got friends coming around, and you go down, you have a look, and you look through and you think, oh, I've had that for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever it may be, 2 years, 1 year, whatever. You look at it and think, you know, I've had that down here for 5 years. It's got dust on the bottle.
Beautiful.
You take it out, you take it up, and you open it. And it just adds so much to the ambience, the evening, the event. And like, I've waited 5 years to open this wine. And it's just like, even if the wine's crap, it usually tastes good because it just sort of adds so much to it, you know.
You're right. I mean, I used to work for a very wealthy lady, and she said to me, "Do you guys want?" We were staying at her house. We were doing some work for a consultancy work, and she's a very wealthy lady. And she said she didn't drink, and she said, "Do you want something from my husband's wine cellar?" And I think one of my colleagues went and had a look and brought back something that had been laid down with a very impressive sounding name. I've still got the cork somewhere. But that whole adventure of someone going to the cellar and choosing one of her husband's wines. And I don't even know if he knows about it to this day. But coming back with it from the cellar, you're right, added an extra dimension of like, this has been prized and saved and savored. And it was just, it's so true what you're saying. It's another dimension to the whole adventure here with wine, isn't it?
A little bit careful though. I remember one evening when we had some friends staying in our house in Tamar, and we'd been away and we'd come back from sailing and we'd been to see them and stay with them for a few days, and we'd had some wine. So usually on the first night, we usually all ended up getting a bit off with the fairies. It's the first night you meet up, you have something to eat, you always end up telling stories and drinking far too much. And I remember we were probably on, I don't know, between this 5th or 6th bottle of wine or something silly, and it got emptied, and the guy said, "Oh, okay, time for another one." I said, "Just go and choose something from the wine in the adega." So he came back with this wine. By then, I didn't even look. We opened it, and I remember saying to him, "My God, that wine is absolutely spectacular. That is beautiful." But it was a 40 quid bottle of wine that we had laid down for a number of years. So don't ever send anyone into your wine cellar just to go and choose what you want.
Incredible. Yeah. And when you're a bit boozed up, that can happen, can't it?
I know, but it's funny, we were looking for it after. We said, you know what, let's open that one. And we looked, and we knew it because it was from an adega we went to, a vineyard we went to, and we were considering getting married there. And we brought some wine and we laid it down, and there was a special one that they did, which Rita brought. So we'll open on our, I don't know, on our wedding day or anniversary or something or other like this, and it disappeared. So the only thing I could think of, it had to be that wine that went. Yeah, so lesson learned is no matter how drunk you get, don't send people into your wine collection to choose the wine.
Yeah, we'll remember that. Okay, we have super presentation, Neil. Have a great night, everyone. See you in the man cave.
It was a real pleasure.
The limbering up has begun for the man cave tomorrow night. Sapphira will join us in there as well. Neil, great job tonight, sir. Fantastic. I'm just trying to, so in case anyone joined us late, I'm just trying to find the picture of the wine. Yeah, absolutely. Here. Let me find the right, or maybe someone could hold it up so that people can see it. Yes, hold your bottles, if you will, folks, so that anyone joining this late can see what we're drinking tonight. Yeah, okay. And better still, maybe hold up a glass now and have a sip from it. Thank you, Neil. Mr. Alantasia tonight going off-piste, out of town with this. Here's to you, sir. Thank you very much indeed.
Excellent. Nice one.
We will go to our lock-in now, and which the wine ninja's extra privilege, probably to finish off the balls. Sapphira's thing is, oh yes, next week. I do beg your pardon. Here you go. Yeah. This is my selection from the dowry. Pedra Cancela. Okay.
Yeah.
It has say that again.
13%.
It's a little bit weedy on that side of things, isn't it? But I think is that not uncommon with Dow wines?
No, Dow is generally not more than a 13.
Interesting.
Yeah. Usually a light wine, quite a light wine.
A decanter award, which threw me a little, not threw me, but it sort of attracted me a little bit as well. So I'm really looking forward to what you think about this, and I'm very proud of myself for being a week ahead and not just choosing it on the night. So thanks everybody for being here, and we'll look forward to either seeing you in the morning or tomorrow night in the Expat Man Cave. Great job, Neil.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.